Heavy rainfall continues across southeast Queensland today, but it's likely to ease overnight tonight into early Tuesday morning. Flash flooding will remain a risk on Monday, but we're likely to see the impacts of riverine flooding continuing for some days. Taking a look at the last 12 hours or so of our radar data, we can see that rain streaming in from the northwest across those central and southeastern parts of the state in the last 24 hours or so. We didn't really see too much in terms of thunderstorm activity. This was mostly persistent rain in that afternoon period yesterday and continuing overnight. Looking at our rainfall totals from the 24 hours to 9 o'clock this morning, we can see that most of the heavier falls were focused across the Wide Bay and Burnett, catching parts of the Sunshine Coast, southern Capricornia and Central Highlands and coalfields. Widespread falls of 80 to 150 millimetres were seen in this period, with isolated totals much higher. In terms of the southeast coast, Brisbane suburbs to the north of the city did see some moderate to locally heavy falls, but the numbers weren't quite as high as those areas further north. The top totals in the 24 hours to 9 o'clock this morning topped out at around 260 millimetres at a location called Brovinia, but we did have around 190 millimetres almost at Emerald, 184 millimetres at Gympie in that period. Further heavy rain is expected today. We do still have a severe weather warning current covering parts of the Wide Bay and Burnett, Capricornia and Central Highlands and coalfields. This warning flags the risk of heavy to locally intense rainfall and damaging wind gusts. Now, in terms of the rain, in our warning area, we're looking at 6-hourly rainfall totals through the rest of today in that 60 to 90 millimetre range, with isolated 6-hourly falls much higher. Those rain rates are certainly high enough to cause further flash flooding through our warning areas today. In terms of wind gusts, we could see some gusty, possibly damaging winds developing this afternoon and evening across parts of the Capricornia and Wide Bay and Burnett. Wind gusts of this strength can bring down trees and tree limbs, particularly where it's combining with those heavy rainfalls. This wet weather is continuing to be driven by a low pressure trough and the remnants of a tropical low moving over the area. You can see just how much moisture is being drawn in around these systems, funneling it across our warning areas today. In fact, across coastal and inland parts of our warning, we may even see intense rainfall. That's rain rates so high it could lead to that dangerous and life-threatening flash flooding. It's a good idea today to keep a close eye on the radar and keep a close eye on the Bureau's warnings page, as we will issue further warnings as needed, depending on the rainfall we see coming through. Now, through the later part of the day, we are likely to see that trough moving gradually offshore, taking the bulk of the rainfall with it. It's still likely to be wet through that evening period, but the rain should be starting to ease off. And as we go overnight, we'll see that trend continuing. By tomorrow morning, we're left with much patchier seasonal showers up the southeast coast. So really, the wet weather is confined to Monday. By Tuesday, we should be in for much lower rainfall totals through our southeastern areas. Taking a look at some of our expected rainfall totals between midnight last night and tomorrow morning, we can see that focus of the rainfall. Fairly widespread moderate to high rainfall totals are expected over the next 24 hours or so, but the highest falls are most likely about some of those coastal parts. Of course, it will depend on whether we see those intense falls across the next 24 hours or so. Now, this, of course, has led to significant riverine flooding already developing through many of those southeastern areas. We do have major flood warnings already in place for the Charlies Creek, Stewart and Boyne rivers, Barker and Barrambar creeks, and the Mary River downstream of Gympie. A number of other minor to moderate flood warnings are already in place for those southeastern parts of the state. And it's likely, as rain continues to fall today, that we will see further updates to our riverine flooding and our riverine flooding warnings. You'll always be able to find the latest on the Bureau's website and via the Bomb Weather app. Stay safe during this wet day, and we'll catch you next time.